So today we're going to be doing kind of a power yoga, focus a bit on the core. You will need a brick or something that functions as a brick for this class, so that could be kind of like a sturdy book. So let's get on the mat. Okay, so let's get started. This is going to be a slightly shorter practice. So we're just going to take a few breaths to prepare and then we'll begin to move. So take any comfortable seat, whether that's cross-legged or if you want to sit in a chair or sit on your shins. And just let your hands rest somewhere comfortable, whether that's the legs or anywhere else, down in the lap. And just close your eyes. And just take a few moments here to settle into the space that you find yourself in. Allow your shoulders to gently melt away from the ears. Allow your hips to relax, your belly to be soft as the breath just gently moves in and out of the abdomen. Allow your forehead to relax, your jaw. And start to listen into your breath. Breath being the foundation of any practice, of any yoga practice. So we allow our breath to come to the forefront of our awareness a little bit more. We spend most of our day not thinking about the breath, so here in your practice is a really great opportunity to prioritize your breath a little bit more. So see if you can breathe both in through the nose and out through the nose. You might take slightly longer breaths, slightly slower breaths. Maybe there's a pause in between your in and out breath. Okay, and then take a few more cycles of breath here, maybe seeing if you can extend that exhale just a little bit more. Maybe you bring a little bit of sound to your exhale as you breathe out through the nose. We use these breaths just as a way to prepare our body for practice, to prepare our minds as well. Okay, last deep breath in here. Let's breathe out through the mouth. Nice big exhale. Great, and then just starting to open your eyes when you're ready. So we'll stay seated for now. Whether you're on your shins or you're in a cross-legged position, just place your hands on your knees. We're going to come through kind of a seated cat-cow. So as you breathe in, start to lift high up onto your sit bones, extend that chest space forward, and maybe the elbows start to draw in towards the kind of the sides of the ribs. And then as you exhale, find the tailbone, sit back onto that tailbone, back onto the sit bones, chin comes into chest, and we really stretch out that back body. So repeat this a couple of times. So inhale, we find some extension through the spine, and exhale, we flex the spine and round. And again, inhale to lift, exhale to round. Last one, inhale to lift, and exhale to round. Good, and then coming all the way back up to seated. From here, bring your hands behind your head, and we're just gently resting the fingers at the head, or you could interlace the hands behind. We're going to take a few twists here, and the reason we've got our hands behind our head is just so that we are focusing on using the side body and the muscles at the back to twist rather than pushing ourselves around with our hands. So take a breath in, and as you breathe out, just slowly start to rotate your body to the right hand side, so towards your right leg, keeping those elbows nice and lifted. And noticing that you might be twisting a little bit less than you would do if you were to have your hands down on your legs, and knowing that that is fine, is that active kind of range of movement here. Okay, and then slowly move through center, and then we twist over to the left. So we feel that almost wrapping effect of the muscles through the side body, the rib cage, the back, and back through center. One more time, over to the right, and back through center, and over to the left. And back through center. Good, release those hands. Let's come onto our hands and our knees. If you've got your brick, you can just pop it to the side. So just spinning yourself into a tabletop position. Let's have those toes tucked underneath so we are ready and prepped to take our down dog in a few moments. But to start with, let's just shift the weight forwards and back. So spreading the fingers nice and wide, sending the weight towards the fingers and then back towards the toes. We're doing a few planks in the practice today, because this is more of a power flow. So we just want to make sure that our hands are awake and warm. Same with the toes as well. We do put a lot of weight through the toes, especially in a plank position. Okay, let's start to take this into more of a circle. So just shifting that weight across each surface of the palm and then going the opposite way around. Good, and then coming back to center. So we'll take some scapular push-ups here. Now this movement is really great for waking up the muscles of the back, particularly rhomboids in between the shoulder blades. So for this movement, we don't want to bend the elbows, and it's a kind of a gliding effect as the shoulder blades move towards each other and then they slide away from each other. So we're moving the shoulder blades together and then sliding them apart. As you're doing this, try to keep control of your abdomen here. So we don't want it to become a movement for the lower back. It's just those shoulder blades drawing together and moving apart. So let's take 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Good. Keep your legs where they are. Walk the hands towards the top end of your mat. We'll take melting heart pose. So you start to send the chest space down towards the floor. The forehead might reach the mat, but it might be hovering. Either is fine. We're just finding that deep stretch through the shoulders, through the rib cage, through the chest. You could even lift high up onto the fingertips if that feels comfortable. Stay for 2 breaths. So breathing in, breathing out, and again breathing in and breathing out. From here, just slowly start to walk those hands back underneath your shoulders. We'll come into our first downward dog. So we start to lift those knees, lift those hips, and we're in our first downward facing dog of the practice. So we'll stay here for about 5 or so breaths to begin with. If you want to take these breaths as a moving down dog, if you want to walk on the spot, moving the hips side to side, anything that you need here, just to wake up that body. And depending on what time of day that you're practicing, whether it's in the morning or in the evening, our body's going to feel different. We tend to be a bit stiffer in the mornings, so just take your time here in this first downward dog if you are feeling a little bit tighter. Okay, another 2 breaths, breathing in, breathing out. Last one, breathing in and breathing out. So feet stay where they are as we walk the hands back towards them. And we find a forward fold at the back of the mat. I encourage you to bend your knees here, just again as we're at the beginning of the practice. Give the hands a little shake. And we'll just be walking back and forth from our plank to this forward fold, so the feet can stay where they are. As we gently plant the palms back down, making our way into a high plank position this time. So we're bringing our body into a long line. We're going to be pressing back through the heels, drawing up gently through the belly button and pressing firmly down through the palms. Then when you're ready, hands walk back to the feet and come back into that forward fold. And you do that 3 more times. So walking the hands forward, trying to be nice and careful with how you're placing those palms on the mat. Taking a few breaths once you arrive in your plank. And then walking back when you're ready. Another 2. So walking forward, finding your plank. This could also be a plank with your knees down on the floor. And then walking back to your Uttanasana. Last one, we're going to hold our plank for a little bit longer this time, so walking the hands forward. We find that high plank position. Remember, it could be with your knees down on the floor if you prefer. Reaching out through the crown of the head. Holding for 5, 4, engage your glutes, 3, 2, 1. We're going to bring the right knee down onto the floor so it's directly underneath the hip. Pivot on that shin and place the left heel down to lift the left arm. We're coming into our modified side plank, or this one sometimes called our side gate pose. You could also try this one with the left leg lifted, or you could keep it down on the mat. Try to make sure that your right shoulder stays above your right wrist so you've got that kind of direct line of support. 1 more deep breath in. As we exhale, we come back into the high plank. So bring the left hand down, step your right leg back. Take a deep breath in here. As we breathe out, left knee finds the floor. We pivot on that shin, drop down through the right heel, lift the right arm. On the second side, remember you can also lift that leg to about hip height if you wish, or keep it down on the mat. Take a full breath in and a full breath out. One more full breath in. And as we breathe out, that right hand comes back down. Again, we find our high plank. Take a deep breath in here. As we exhale, bring both knees down to the floor. Take a slow descent down onto the mat. Reaching those arms back, lifting just the head, chest and shoulders away from the floor. So the legs are staying grounded here. Think about squeezing in through those palms. Glutes are engaged. So if you poke your bum, you want your glutes to be switched on. Holding here for 3, for 2, for 1. Good. Bring your chest back down, but this time bring your hands behind your head, kind of that similar position that we were in that seated space. And we're going to do 5, almost like a reverse crunch here. So rather than a sit up, we're kind of lifting from the back body. Try and keep your elbows nice and high. So we lift for 1 and down. Lift for 2 and down. 3 and down. 4 and 5, and hold at the top. Bring those arms into a cactus shape so they're kind of in a goalpost position. We're holding here for 5, keeping lots of height through the arms. 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring your hands back down to the mat. Let's move back into child's pose. So start to just peel yourself away from the floor. Keep those shins connected as you send the hips back to the heels and find your child's pose. Taking a few breaths here. Okay, last deep breath in. Last deep breath out. Let's come back into downward dog. So find the hands, tuck the toes underneath. Hips lift, downward facing dog. Take a full breath in and a full breath out. Inhale. As you exhale, this time come forward into plank, but draw that right knee in towards your chest. Inhale, step back into down dog. Left side, exhale, left knee into the chest as you shift that weight forward. Inhale, down dog. So you can see where we're going with this. We're just going to keep repeating side to side. So breathing in, breathing out, right knee to chest. Inhale, down dog. Exhale, left knee to chest. Inhale, down dog. 2 more on each side. Exhale, right. Inhale, down dog. Exhale, left. Inhale, down dog. Last one. Exhale, right. Inhale, down dog. Exhale, left. Inhale, down dog. Good. Come forward into your high plank position. Now you could either repeat that side gate that we did a moment ago where we drop the right knee down and we lift the left arm. Or we're going to take our full Vashisthasana, so we're going to drop onto the outer edge of the right foot. You could have your feet in front of each other or stacked, and then lifting the left arm. So either option, you're still having your right hand on the floor. You just either got the knee supporting you, or you've got the knee lifted. 1 more deep breath in. 1 more deep breath out. Come back through center. Find your high plank. Take a breath in here. Exhale, we go straight to the other side. So you're either bringing the knee down and pivoting for this variation, or we're shifting over onto the edges of the feet and lifting that right arm. Try not to let the hips roll back. So you want your hips stacked, glutes nice and strong, core nice and strong. Holding here for a full inhale. As you exhale, bring that right hand all the way back down. Maybe with the knees off this time as we bend the elbows all the way down to the mat. Sending the arms back again as we lift the chest. This time maybe also lifting those legs. Holding here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Rest. Maybe just bring the side of the head onto the mat, or you could place your head in your hands, wherever you want to be. Just take a few breaths here if you want to give the hips a little movement side to side. I'm going to come up to standing in a moment and move through a standing sequence. Okay, so take a deep breath in, and then when you're ready, bring your hands back onto the mat. Briefly coming through downward dog, so just tuck the toes underneath, hips lift. And then from here, we're going to walk the feet forward this time. So stepping the feet towards the top of the mat, Take a few moments here in this forward fold if you want to shake the hands. Again, remember, you've totally got the option to have bent knees or slightly straighter legs. And then take your time to roll all the way up to standing. And the shoulders move up, back and down when you're ready. Okay, so we're going to grab our brick from here, or if you haven't got a brick, just a sturdy book. So we're going to work into a little bit of core strength and balance through some standing postures. So send your weight over onto your right leg and lift your left thigh away from the floor. And I'm going to use the brick here on its longest height, but if you want more challenge, you could turn it down to its medium height. Now you're going to place the brick onto your left thigh and then rest your left elbow on that brick. So we're just kind of using that to sandwich the gap. So if you were using it on the lower height, you would just be either lifting that leg a bit higher or you'd fold forward a little bit. This tends to be a good place to have your brick. So from this position, so we're standing on the right leg, I want you to squeeze or try and squash that brick in between the elbow and the thigh. So I'm pressing that left elbow down into the brick, but at the same time I'm squashing the thigh up into the brick as well, like you're trying to crush it in between those 2 points of contact. I'm just going to hold here for a few breaths. Keep pressing into the floor through your standing leg, so don't let your hips sink into that side. Now you're either going to stay here, or you might test your balance a bit more and open that thigh out to the side. Keep that pressure as you press the elbow down and the thigh up. One more deep breath in. One more deep breath out. Remove the brick. Step your left foot to the back of the mat. We can keep the brick in between the hands here. Stepping a nice big step back with that left leg, so we're in a high lunge position. And we'll send the brick out in front. I'm just having the palms on the brick so my fingers are free of the brick, and that just gives you a little bit more squeeze. So brick out in front. I'm just going to squeeze that brick in between the palms. So we're just using this as a little bit of a tool to help to engage and activate the body. Sometimes when we're in a lunge position, our body maybe finds the pose quite stable and quite easy to be in, so we lose that kind of deep core connection. So as you're squeezing the brick in between those palms, can you feel that counter engagement here in the abdomen? Okay, take a deep breath in and take a deep breath out. One more deep breath in and deep breath out. Now from here, bring your body down towards the floor. Just pop the brick to the side for the moment. Bring your hands down and frame that front right foot. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, scooping that heel in towards the chest, we're back into that knees to chest position. We're going to hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Taking this straight into a wild thing. So your right foot, we're going to step it up and over, so it's actually going to find the floor, coming onto the outside edge of that left foot as you press the pelvis up towards the ceiling. If this isn't comfortable, you could go into your regular side plank. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, right hand comes all the way back down. We step into high plank. Breathing in. Exhale, chaturanga as you bend those elbows. Let's take a regular cobra this time. So untuck your toes. Inhale, lift the heart space. And exhale, downward dog when you're ready. Hips go up and back. Take an inhale, sweeping that right leg up and over. Exhale, step that right foot forward. Drop your left heel down and come up into warrior 2. So spread those arms nice and wide, grounding down through those feet. Now we're going to take a core version of our extended side angle. So we'll set up first with the arm on the thigh, and then we'll remove that support. So bring your right forearm down onto your right thigh. And then a couple of options here. So option 1 is the left hand just going to reach up to the ceiling. And then really pressing down through the feet, we're going to see if we can relieve the right arm from that thigh, but keep the torso in the same position. So that's your first option. Option 2 is to reach the left arm up and over. And then instead of just lifting this arm, we're actually going to reach it forward. So we're kind of holding onto a big beach ball. So either one of these options, we hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come all the way back up into warrior 2. Straighten your right leg. Turn those right toes in, and we'll take a nice wide-legged forward fold. So dive down. Bring those hands down either to the mat or grab your brick for that little bit of extra height. Maybe your toes are pointing towards the long edge. They might be turned in a bit. They might even be turned out. Either of these options is totally fine. They'll just give you a slightly different sensation in the back of the legs. So you can relax the head, relax the torso. Remember, you can also have a bend in the knees here. 2 deep breaths. Inhale, exhale, and again, inhale and exhale. Hands find the hips, the knees bend as we gently roll all the way up to standing. We're turning to the top of the mat, so step your feet together. Find yourself at the top of the mat. We're going to go straight to the second side, so grab your brick if it's no longer with you. So we're standing on the left leg this time, so the weight goes over onto the left, the right leg lifts, so we place our brick on top of that thigh so that we can rest our elbow on top as well. So we're finding that contact point. So hopefully you can see my standing leg a little bit easier on this side. What I want you to try and avoid is kind of collapsing into the hip. So think about a nice even distribution between your left, the front of your left hip and the front of your right hip. And also driving down through that left heel to find that nice long line out through the crown of the head. And all the while we're still pressing that right elbow down into the brick and the right thigh back up into the brick. Now either staying here or we're opening out to the side just with that thigh. Holding here for 3, for 2, for 1. Take your brick, step your right leg to the back of the mat, find your high lunge. So just make sure that you've arranged your feet so they feel comfortable. Brick in between the palms, reach it out in front of you, and then squeeze those palms together. And as we draw the hands in, we hopefully find co-contraction here in our core center, in our lower abs, mid and upper, and our side body, and maybe even in the chest space as well, or even in the back. So as we're squeezing here, make sure that we're not rounding, but thinking about almost like you're squeezing, but also pulling that brick down from the ceiling at the same time. Okay, 1 more deep breath in. And 1 more deep breath out. Releasing the brick, bringing it down towards the floor. Bringing the hands down, framing that front left foot. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, scoop that heel in towards the sit bone. Try and keep your shoulders stacked over your wrists. Holding here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The left foot steps up and over, it finds the floor. We press up through that pelvis and lift the left arm. Remembering that if this isn't comfortable, you could just take your regular side plank position that we practiced a few moments ago. 1 more deep breath in. As you breathe out, left hand finds the floor. When we come back into our high plank, take an inhale. Exhale, chaturanga, bend the elbows. Inhale, lift the heart space, either low, high cobra, or up dog if you want to lift those thighs. And exhale, downward dog. Take a breath in and take a breath out. We're going to step the left foot forward and drop the right heel down and come all the way up into our warrior 2. And just take a moment to arrange your feet, make sure you feel comfortable. Now the left forearm is moving down towards the left thigh. Right arm is either moving straight up to 12 o'clock or it's reaching over towards the top end of your mat. Establish that firm grounding through the feet, and then when you're ready, release that left hand, either hold onto the rib cage, or if you're taking this option, you're imagining you're holding onto that beach ball. We stay for 5, keep pressing through the feet, 4, 3, 2, 1. Push through the feet, come all the way back up to warrior 2. Straighten those legs. We'll take a second forward fold here. So diving down, bring the hands down to the mat or down to your brick. See if you can take a different position with the feet. So first time around you had your feet facing parallel. Maybe you try it with the feet turned out, the feet turned in. And let that head be nice and heavy. Remember, you can bend the knees here. Could even sway a little bit side to side if that feels comfortable. Wherever you want to be. Last 2 breaths. Okay. So from here, we're going to turn towards the top of the mat. So start to pivot those feet. We're stepping back into a high plank from here and then coming straight down onto our forearm. So dropping one elbow and the other elbow down towards the floor. So in our forearm plank, you could also do this with the knees down if you wish. Nice long line. Try not to let the hips sink down towards the floor. So we're going to scoop up through the abdomen, pushing down through the forearms. We're going to be here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring those knees down. Take a child's pose. And let their body rest for a few moments. Remember, your knees can be together or they can be apart for your child's pose. Okay, so just coming up to a seated position for a moment, we're going to take the next part of the practice for some chaturangas, essentially some press-ups. So whether you are practicing your chaturangas with your knees on the floor or off the floor, I'll show you a couple of different variations. I would rather that you do less repetitions, so less press-ups with better form, than try and do all of the repetitions and start to kind of lose the engagement in your back and your shoulders. So we're going to do a few different positions with the hands. Say for you, we'll do 3. So we're going to do a regular chaturanga, which is where kind of the one that we used to in our sun salutations, where the elbows kind of go past the rib cage. So we'll call this regular chaturanga. We're also going to try some wide ones. So we're going to bring the hands off the mat, so they're going to be super wide, and the inner elbows will be pointing forward, so that when we bend the arms, the elbows will go out to the side. So we'll take those as our wide ones. And then we're going to do what we call diamond push-ups. So we're going to bring our hands super close together, thumbs and index fingers touch, and we find this position. And for this one, it's probably the most challenging one, especially when we're coming away from the floor, is as we bend the elbows go slightly out towards the side, just kind of where they naturally move. And we're almost trying to bring our sternum to this heart, to this diamond shape, and then pushing the floor away. So I'll show you a couple of all 3, and then we're going to go for 5 of each, take a rest, and then do a second round. If 5's too many, go for 2 or 3 with your correct form, and then rest. So the first option is, well, the first round is our chaturanga ones. So inner elbows pointing forward, and the chest isn't touching the floor, so we're not going all the way down here. I want you to kind of come to this 90-degree position and then pushing back up. So that's our first one. The second one is going to be the wide position. So I'm going to take my hands onto the carpet, or you could just have them on the edges of the mat. But for this one, we want the inner elbows pointing forward, and the elbows are going to go out to the side. So nice wide push-ups. And then the third one is our diamond shape. So the hands are in the center of the mat, kind of making that diamond shape with the thumbs and the index fingers connected. Going a little bit lower down with that one. But again, you could kind of take a half variation if you wish. So go for 5 of each, take a rest, and then a second round. Don't worry if you're faster or slower than me, but you can go at my pace if you wish. So let's take our first position with our plank. Remember, you can do this with the knees off, just making sure that your shoulders are over your wrists, or maybe even in front of, but definitely not behind. When the shoulders are behind the wrists, it makes it really hard for our elbows to function in the correct way. So set up either your high plank or your half plank, and we'll take 5 chaturanga press-ups. So we lower down and up for 1, down and up for 2, use the breath, down and up for 3, down, 4, last one, down, and 5. Arms wide, so either just off the mat or fully on the floor. And if you take a kind of slightly wider position with the feet as well, it might feel more comfortable. So let's lower for 1, and 2, 3, 4, and 5. Good. And rest. Give your wrists a little shake. Last one is our diamond. I'll show you these ones on the knees so you get a little bit more of an idea of the shoulder position. And also it's quite hard to talk and do these at the same time. So diamond position, remembering there's a distinct difference between doing them on your knees in a tabletop position. We don't want this. We want those thighs in that diagonal position, so we're actually using our arms. So we'll lower for 1 and up, 2 and 3, 4 and 5. Good, and rest. Let's take a nice long rest, whether that's a child's pose or if you want to come to seated. Give those wrists a little shake. We'll stay for about 30 seconds, about 30-second rest. So whilst we're resting, I'll just talk through the mechanics of them. It can be really useful actually if you are struggling with doing your full chaturangas with the knees off the floor, is if you go down with the knees off the floor, and then for the way up, if you put the knees on the floor, because often the way back up is more tricky anyway. So for example, if you were doing your regular one, you would go down with the knees off, you would put them on, and you would come back up with the knees on the floor. So that's a good training aid, so you can always add that in. Okay, so take another couple of breaths. You're gonna do a second round. Again, either 5, or if 5's too many, maybe stop at 3, take a longer rest, and then join in with the next one. Okay, so we're back to the regular chaturangas. So find your plank or your half plank, or if you're doing a combination of the two, and let's go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Take a little moment. Second one is the wide position. So hands are either on the floor or kind of just spreading on the mat. And yeah, if you take a wide position with the legs as well, it's a bit more supportive. Okay, so inner elbows facing towards each other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whew, take a rest. Press the wrists. Last one. 5 repetitions. We do our diamond one, knees on or off, or a combination of both. I'm going to do this one with my knees on the floor again. So remembering, if you are doing your half plank position, that you want to focus on a nice long line with the shoulders and the diagonal line through the thighs. Let's go for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Good, let's rest again. So take a child's pose, rest the hands. Great, so from here, you're going to come through to seated. So just spin yourself around. And we'll just take a Baddha Konasana here just to kind of catch our breath. I'll just face towards you. So we're going to bring soles of the feet together. If you want to sit on a brick, or if you've got a cushion or anything, or you could even place, if you've got 2 bricks, place them underneath the knees. So take a nice deep breath in, and as you breathe out, just allow that body to fold forwards. Does not matter where your hands are resting, whether it's the floor or your body, but just come into this space. Allow your body to be where it kind of naturally falls. So that might be quite close to the floor, it might be a little bit more up here, your knees might be a little bit higher. Just wherever you are, you're going to take about 10 breaths. And as you're breathing here, see if you can start to slow down those breaths. Maybe you add in that pause again at the top of the inhale. Okay, last 2 cycles of breath. And then when you're ready, walk those hands back up. From here, just bring the feet onto the floor, maybe mat distance apart. Hands come behind you. We're just going to move those legs in and out, just side to side. A little bit of movement in those hips. Great. Okay, so we're going to come down onto our backs, and we'll use our brick or our book, whatever we're using, just for a mild psoas stretch. So I'm going to use this brick on its lowest height. If you've got more sturdy bricks, this one's like a foam one and it's quite flimsy, but if you've got one of the cork bricks, you might choose to use it on its medium height so that it feels a bit more sturdy. The higher the brick, or the higher your platform, the more intense this stretch or this position is going to feel. So coming down onto our backs, we're going to slide the prop underneath the pelvis. We want it to be underneath kind of the bulk of the pelvis. If you're working with a slightly smaller surface area, so for example, if you did have it on this height, just want to make sure that it's kind of underneath your sacrum, tailbone area. So it wants to feel comfortable. It's going to be different for each of us. Basically, you don't want it too high so that your bum kind of falls over the edge. We're not looking for a back bend. We're looking for support under the pelvis so we get a nice psoas stretch. And then once you've found a comfortable spot, you're going to straighten those legs. So we have to do a little reshuffling. We can take the legs nice and wide, let the feet fall out, and close the eyes. So we did a lot of work in the practice today for the core, for the front line, especially when we were in that standing balance and we had the brick in between our thigh and our elbow. So using this pose here just to find a bit of relief in that area. So just breathe and let the body relax. Okay, and then from here, just start to bring those feet back onto the floor. Lift those hips and remove that brick. Let the spine gently find the mat. Take a moment here in this constructive rest place where your feet are planted, your knees are bent. Just to take a few breaths. And then we're going to move into Shavasana from here. So you could totally give your knees a quick hugging towards the chest if you like. Any other little movements that you would like to find. And then for your Shavasana, maybe you want to straighten the legs once again, or if you're comfortable keeping the knees bent and the feet on the floor, you could leave them there. Maybe the arms go out wide, and we just take up as much space as we can. Closing the eyes. Take a full inhalation. And a full exhalation. So we'll be here for a few minutes. But as always, if you have more time in your day and you want to stay for longer, then please do so. Okay, so start to deepen your breaths again. Maybe begin to wriggle your toes, your fingers. Maybe we take a big stretch. On our next inhale, lengthen the body. And as we exhale, Again, we draw the knees back into the chest. Take a moment here. And when you're ready, you come up to seated. Just take your time. Coming up to a comfortable seated position. Maybe the eyes are still closed. Resting the hands somewhere comfortable. Coming full circle here, so ending our practice where we began. Noticing the breath. But this time maybe noticing if the breath feels different in some way, or if the body feels different in some way. Okay, and then when you are ready, just open your eyes, come back into your space. Great. Thank you so much for joining me for this class. Any questions or comments, please feel free to let me know. I hope to see you at one of these classes again soon. Have a great week.